My class is the same one.
Hey guys, you're on.
Okay.
All right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new episode of Paranormal Encyclopedia. I'm your host, Kevin Mears, demonologist, paranormal investigator. I've got with me
Brian McKinley, author and all-around crazy person.
and godfather of vampire fiction.
Yes, Godfather.
Amisha Campbell, sidekick.
And for only the second time in the show's history, we actually have a guest in studio with us.
Yay! Someone brave enough to actually, make the trip.
It's Jersey. What else?
So I want to introduce everybody to my friend Chris Ryans, a.k.a. Baron Voltage.
How you doing?
So I could do it, but people are always better at introducing yourself. Why don't you let everybody know who you are and what you do?
Oh boy, okay. Mind you, when I originally spoke to you, I was like, okay, I'm the worst at this.
I know, that's why it's more fun to make you do it.
Sure, why not?
Suffer.
I'm a stage presenter of casual hypnosis, varying uses, erotic hypnosis, horror hypnosis, hallucination hypnosis, not therapeutic hypnosis, card-carrying member of the League of Ethical Evil Hypnotists. And
I didn't know that was a thing.
oh, it's so is a thing.
Nice.
Oh, yes. And just one of those few people that is, just that weird guy that more or less is always trying to get into people's heads. Yes.
There we
Trying
go.
to create an army of zombies is to do what you tell them to, yeah?
If I did, you would never know they were coming.
Nice.
There's a reason why they say winter is coming. And it's been pretty cold in Jersey.
It's actually been pretty warm for Jersey.
That's
For
subjective.
Jersey.
For Jersey, yeah. Yeah.
We haven't gotten the worst of winter yet. I don't think.
I don't think we've had too many days where it's early in the morning and it's in the negatives.
No, not in the negative.
But we've had snow.
Yes.
Yeah, we have gotten our
Yes.
first blizzard. And that
I-
was,
yeah.
we did that, but it's been reasonably mild. But anyway, so how did you? What first got you interested in this field?
All right. Well, I had suffered a bit of a brain trauma when I was about 31. About like maybe a day before I turned 32, I was diagnosed with brain cancer.
Oh, geez.
All the yay. And with the nature of it, the tumor had more or less presented itself and pressed up against certain vessels in my hippocampus as well as my temporal lobe, so it screwed with a lot of my memory. So a majority of the studies that I did was, okay, how is the brain working and what do I have to expect? Because I still get memory blanks every once in a while. It's not fun. And I started going to a couple of social events to like try and get out more because I was recently discharged from the Air Force. Was back in good old Garden State from out west, and I was introduced to it by a couple of folks within the New Jersey hypnosis community, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's things the brain can do that I didn't know. It isn't in this book. Now I can have some fun. And ever since then, it's like I purposely took to specialization in post-hypnotic triggers. I found that the sky's the limit, and so is the brain whenever it comes to the imagination of what you can do with hypnosis.
So you literally
embraced
have
it.
like a comic book villain origin story. Like, I mean, I've never heard someone, present, their bio and just gone, wow, that is right out of a comic book.
I guess I shouldn't have mentioned the fact that I'm also paranoid schizophrenic.
Oh,
There you go.
there we go.
No, but thankfully, behavioral therapy's squared me away, so I'm not going to murder you all. Yeah.
Good.
That's good, but yeah, he's right. You do kind of have, and it's not a bad thing. It's sort of awesome that you have the
Yeah.
supervillain thing going.
The anti-hero is more
Well,
like
you've
it.
even got a name. It's like, Baron Voltage. I mean, that sounds right out of like Spider-Man.
Oh,
or
and there's a story
Fantastic
behind
Four or
I
something.
earned that name.
Oh boy.
Okay, now you have to
So
tell
which
us that
country are you a
story.
baron of?
Not so much the,
The
Baron,
one
but
right next
definitely
door to
the-
Doctor Doom.
That was always his radio too loud.
I've heard that.
The
Of course you did. It was that loud.
the little neighboring like 5 square mile country in the middle of Eastern Europe somewhere.
Like, turn it down.
Damn it, Doom.
I've been struck by lightning. I've been zapped by a fuse box. I've been cattle prodded, tased, stun gunned, various different types of electrical implements involving wall outlets, toasters, and other less than fun things. Cattle wire in particular is not very fun.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Holy
I'm still here because of the lightning strike. I can't feel these 2 fingers, and because of the fuse box, I don't go near anything electrical that's exposed.
Jeez. No, I wouldn't think so. Some of the things you listed, I was because I just have, one of those minds. Yeah, I immediately was about to ask, okay, how many of them were voluntary? Like, how many did you ask for versus how many just
stun gun, cattle prod, and taser were voluntary.
Okay.
Cattle wire
didn't
was
surprise
an
me.
accident.
Oh, wow.
Fuse box was an accident. Obviously, the lightning bolt was the accident, but then
I would hope so.
Yeah.
You know what? That's more like a dare from a deity. It's
I was
like,
gonna say,
okay,
like,
what are you gonna give me?
Did you
with
like
next?
whip it out and go, "Hey Zeus, mine's bigger"?
Yeah. Exactly. It's like,
You know,
if you somehow made that happen, I'd be really impressed.
Impressed and
Without the
afraid
obvious of running
just to
around
be,
with a big
near
metal
you.
rod in
Yeah.
an open field in a thunderstorm.
yeah, it's funny. I would always say I'm Deadpool, and then I think about it, and I'm like saying to myself, I'm not that funny, and I'm probably the person that took one look at him and were like, you stole my shtick. But I dress better.
You're actually the third
There you
person
go.
I've met who's been hit by lightning, and the second person I've interviewed for radio who's been hit by lightning.
Wow.
The first guy I knew who had been hit by lightning was he clinically died and wound up having a near-death experience. One of the more famous books on the subject, in fact. And then the second one was a guy I worked with who got hit by lightning twice.
Okay, you think I'm unlucky? That guy.
Oh no, there's a guy who
There are people that have been hit by lightning like 13 or more times.
I am not that skunk-haired dude from Great Outdoors.
No, I remember the cracked article.
That was funny.
The cracked article about that guy
Yeah,
saying it. Okay,
man.
I think we found the mutant with the worst superpower ever.
Yeah.
Yes, human lightning rod. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take a pass on that one.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
too. But it's amazing how many people want to know what it feels like, and I'm like, really?
So going back to the superhero thing,
I'm not going to
I
ask.
picture you more as an evil Doctor Strange.
If you saw him dressed up in his vampire
Regalia.
gear, you'd really.
Here's the irony. That wasn't vampire regalia. I was looking for something cool to wear every day, and it just turned out that it was like
It's not vampire
I found,
regalia.
I found out that Dark Side of the Con was going, and I was asked to present there, and I'm like, okay, what do I have in my wardrobe that would fit? Oh. Yes. Yes.
See,
This
'cause
is
I-
being worn.
Like I said, I was impressed. I mean, I was really impressed by your outfit. I'm like, I'm sitting there. I'm like, I'm the guy giving the vampire lecture, but this dude looks, this dude looks like he should be up here giving the lecture. Not me.
I got some knowledge on the subject.
Yeah.
You were
So-
doing a lecture on vampiric hypnotism,
Yeah.
weren't you?
Yes,
good stuff.
I do a lot of electro hypnosis and vampiric hypnosis. I think was the class that I taught at that event too.
Yeah. So what
That's
is
my
what is
memory.
vampire or
Hypnosis.
vampiric hypnosis?
Being able to simulate all the lovely little fun tropes that you see in vampire movies and fiction through hypnosis. Because
Oh, really?
with that, I put somebody down to trance. I will make them believe that I am doing all those wonderful things. My favorite one's the teleport. You've seen it in the beginning of the interview. You know, he's like, here, let me turn on a light. 1 second, you just see the finger slick, and the next thing, he's right back there in the chair across the room. Well, with that, all I do is just put a person's brain on pause, and I just go like that. Their brain just goes, "Nah." They'll acknowledge that I'm there, but they ain't gonna remember it. Walk over, I hit a light switch, I come right back over, and I go, all right, and next thing you know, they're like,
Nice.
And now it makes me think of the alien abductions and the being able to erase memories.
I know not what you speak of.
Yeah, that looked totally honest.
Well,
So
the coolest thing I ever did in that particular class is when I put the subject down, I made half the classroom all bunch up along to one side, and then I made them change seats. So when they came up, they were on a completely different side of the room, and the entire audience was on the other side. And they're like, what'd you do? This is not right. It was
So-
instantaneous to them.
nice. So what is hypnosis? Like how do you define like when you're doing a class or explaining it to people?
All right.
Because people think they know what hypnosis is.
Yeah, it is so not what it's in the movies. And every single time whenever a movie comes out that features it, I want to bang my head against a piece of drywall.
It always sucks
specifically
watching
reinforced.
a movie
Anything-
based on what you do.
Yeah,
they
anything-
always get it wrong.
Yeah, somehow like movies always screw everything up.
But you want to know what? I mean, they do throw in the occasional bit that you're like, oh, I actually know what that is. They're doing that well.
It's kind of amazing because I'm now thinking of one of my favorite comedies, Hot Fuzz, and how it was actually applauded for the gratuitous shots of paperwork and like, no, this is police work, paperwork,
Yes.
and yet more paperwork.
Yes. There was a film that came out fairly recently called Get Out.
Yeah.
Now,
Yes.
the thing is that what was done correctly was the spoon against the teacup. Spoilers. Okay, and then just the occasional sounds and a repetition. That's called basically an induction, and it's a focus induction. You actually get the person focused on a particular thing. You get them relaxed enough so that you can drop them into trance. Trance is not like what it was depicted in the movie, and I want to strangle people, but still. The film, mostly with hypnosis, and this is the best analogy I could come up with, is your brain's like an office building, okay? Top floor. In the center is a secretary, like Roz from freaking Monsters, Inc. She's just like, what do you want, Wachowski? All right? And on either side, there are two doors, your conscious and your subconscious. In order for me to be able to hypnotize somebody, I gotta convince that secretary, hey, go take a quick break, or do you mind if I actually go in there and talk to these two guys real quick? And then, boom, you say yes, I can go in. If you say no, I don't want to be hypnotized, or you really don't, she's going to give me a hard time and throw an orange at my head. And then once I actually do get the person down into trance after they've already consented to being put under, trance is just like a state of absolute relaxation. It's some of the most wonderful feeling that you can get, because all that basically does is it takes Little Miss Stress that's sitting behind that desk and very angry that she had to come in last Saturday and fill out TPS reports and sends her off to lunch to go get a manicure and, a sandwich. Okay? All that stress is gone. You're at your most receptive to things, and I'm able to, like, hey, you know what I think would be a really good idea is every single time whenever you look at a clock, it's going to flash bright and it's going to turn blue. Just an example of something like that. I think it'd be a really good idea. And when I tell that to the person in trance, the subconscious is like, that'd be pretty cool. Let me talk to your conscious brain real quick and see what this is. You think this is cool? Yeah? All right. Stamp. Approved. And then I come out of the office, and guess what? I bring you out of trance now. Every single time you take a look at a clock, it's going to flash bright and it's going to look blue.
It's an interesting analogy. I mean, certainly looking at some of the scientific studies that have been done on hypnosis, trance states in general, and meditation, yeah, scientifically, in the way when you look at brain functions, it all boils down to extreme relaxation.
Exactly. Right. And it's more or less just telling your brain it's a good idea to do this. Be open to it. That's what trance is doing. It's making you a lot more open to the concept of something that's being suggested. Ultimately, I'm not doing anything.
Right. But you can't force someone to do something or do something against their nature.
No, and the thing
like
is
that's
that
one of those myths of hypnosis.
Well, it's kind of a myth, kind of not a myth.
Oh, okay.
There is something that's called neuro-linguistic programming, or
I've heard
NLP.
of that. Yeah, tell our
that one.
viewers.
That is like the best way to describe it, it's like putting your hand into a basket full of scalpels. You might be able to pull one out without getting cut, but you're probably not gonna. And the thing is that it could be very dangerous to like mess with, because there's different variances in NLP that we use in everyday conversation we don't even realize that we're doing. Most of the time, salesmen will use it, motivational speakers will use it, and hypnotists purposely try to avoid it because it can kind of delve into the range of non-consensual mental manipulation. I could give the simplest and most harmless of them of all that you guys have probably heard and didn't even realize that that's what it was. Shall I?
Please.
Sure.
Okay. Don't think of elephants. What's the first thing you think of?
Elephants.
Exactly.
Of course, the classic version is usually pink elephants.
Well, there you go. But the thing is that I tell you not to think about something immediately. Your brain is going to focus on the thing that I told you not to think about.
Right.
And you didn't consent to that, but now you got that image in your head.
But as you said, that's fairly harmless. There's much worse things you can do with
goodness.
it.
They're full blown. I hear stories from people that like say they were in a horrible relationship with somebody and they didn't even realize that that was what was happening. And a lot of times we don't even realize we're doing it either.
Yeah. Some people have a natural talent for manipulation and stuff, like certain abusive people. They just have this way, and that's why you hear about guys like Charles Manson, for instance, who never had any formal training with any of this stuff, but he had the amazing ability to talk to people and wrap them around his fingers.
And a lot of like historical figures that are mustachioed, as it were, and they used a lot of cues from various different types of like NLP to be able to like really enthrall people, especially with body language, which is another form of NLP. It's a way to associate big grand gestures with certain statements. Now every single time that you see or hear that statement, you're going to think of a grand gesture. Billy Mays, the infomercial great, that man was the king of NLP.
Oh, he was so ridiculous.
He was
to watch,
great
though,
with
but
it.
Yeah,
Because a lot of the things that he did was he drove you forward and presented it out. And guess what? Now you want the product, because guess what? That's what it is. I'm bringing your focus towards this. This is awesome. This is great. It's a weird form of body language and verbal language too.
It's something a lot of people don't understand. I think with hypnosis, we have this idea that it's a mysterious supernatural state, and this is things that people, suggestion is something that affects people without being in a state of relaxation. And as a magician and as a paranormal investigator, you've got to be aware of the nature. You can use, as a magician, you can use suggestion to your advantage and I do it all the time.
yeah.
Well, misdirection is the best form of NLP, ultimately, and that's a magician's bread and butter.
Oh yeah.
So is there a difference, or are they the same thing between, like, say, a hypnotic state and meditation, or is meditation essentially self-hypnosis?
Well, it all depends on your goal. Meditation in and of itself is just basically looking within yourself, finding something in that inner peace and calm to be able to actually get yourself centered, focused, and it has its own therapeutic uses and needs. With hypnosis, I'm using that as a gateway.
Okay.
It's like, that's the foyer. Now hypnosis is the grand ballroom. Let's see where we can take this, because there are several different things I can do
I think
once
you
I'm
had
in the
something you
house.
wanted to add.
Did I?
You kept going. You kept starting and we kept
I'm
cutting you off.
sorry. I have a tendency to steamroll.
Yeah,
You
that's
weren't the
okay.
only one.
Hey, trust me, I'm used to it.
The boys are all guilty of it.
Yeah. It's like I always feel bad because she does have good things to contribute.
And
Like,
I'm
wait a
very
second.
interested.
Yeah.
Hit me with anything.
Last time all three of us worked together, I at least told them twice, hey, guys, I'm trying to say something.
Get a gavel, or you want to know what
Yeah.
you can trans.
You need a ruler. You need a yardstick. This way you can still reach Kevin.
You
Rat
wanna know what?
knuckles.
I can trance them out and make them actually, the second they hear your voice, suddenly they lose the ability to speak.
Ooh, instant submission.
Uh-oh.
That might be a problem for me, given I have to live with her. Let's do that to Brian.
Problem is the subjective nature. She may just go like this, and suddenly you go.
I thought that was called marriage.
Yep. Marriage is getting hit upside the head every single time you try it, and then that.
There you go.
His way's a lot
Kind of
less
like
paid.
it's kind of like obedience school. Yeah.
Love is pain.
Love is pain. Anyone who tells you differently is selling something.
I do think, again, you know more about this than I do, so tell me if I'm wrong. But from a neurological standpoint, meditation and hypnosis are the state you're getting to is very simple. It's just similar. Like you're saying, it's where you go from there that's the question. In meditation, you just sort of sit there and go, cool, I'm relaxed.
Yeah. Because there's so much that you can do once you're in that absolute relaxed state. When a person puts them, and we actually encourage people, put yourself into trance. Get yourself relaxed. It's a great sensation. And you want to know what? It gets you ready for the day sometimes. And some of the most best ways possible is to tackle a day. Throw yourself into trance for like about a good 5-10 minutes. And then have your coffee. If you're a smoker, have that cigarette. And then hop on the CNN or Fox News and have a migraine. But at least you're prepared for it, It's like an instant cat nap. And it's one that you can be done while waking or, you know, out cold. And with certain tips of hypnotic triggers, you can actually go through it and then kick right back in to regular conscious thought if anything like comes around. Like whenever I put somebody down under and I install a trigger or I throw them down into trance, I tell them whenever you're going to be down into trance, if you ever need to, you'll be able to come up at a moment's notice, no problem. But other times it's like, they don't want to come out. It's so relaxing. It could get problematic though, but sometimes it's like, okay, you're in trance now. Well, I'm waiting for you to come up. 10 minutes later, you
Still
ready to come
waiting.
up yet? Great.
It's like that thing, like when you get into like a hot bath or whatever. It's like, you know, when you're getting it ready, you might not feel like, you know, anything, but once you're in there,
Yes.
you do not want to come out.
Along with the bath salts and the candles and Enya playing in the background, you'll laugh at it when you're not in the tub, and you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's another. Please give me
Now
some
I'm just
hard metal and
remembering
trucks.
the bath I made for Kevin that he's like, this is never going to work, and like it. Oh, what do you know? My knees are starting to not hurt.
Yeah.
Yes, you realize the therapeutic uses, and at the same time, it's like the second that you put yourself into it, it's like,
Yes. And it's one of the things I've seen skeptics will say about about meditation and hypnosis is you can create the same brainwave patterns by listening to relaxing music.
yes.
But the advantage I always point out when they say this about hypnosis or meditation is, yeah, but there are times that you can meditate that you can't play relaxing music.
Exactly.
The case in point, you know, I used to do in high school just before a test because I can't bring in a Walkman and go wait teach, but I can close my eyes and, you know, take some deep breaths and do some relaxation techniques.
Exactly. You know, and the thing is that ironically enough, listening to relaxing music, you're putting yourself into trance.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. You're just using an auditory trigger to do it. You may not be quote unquote losing consciousness. By the way, when you're in hypnosis and you're in trance, you don't lose consciousness. You still hear everything that's going on. You're still fully aware of what's going on. You just
Right.
choose not to focus so much on it. That's it. And that's the biggest dispel myth I like try and like hammer home to people. You're not going to fall asleep when I do this. You may wanna.
So it's kind of like a tunnel vision.
Yes, and you want to what? I guarantee you, almost everybody that's listening, you folks, you guys have experienced trance.
I know
I
I
haven't
have.
realized it. Yeah,
Probably.
highway hypnosis.
Oh,
There's a
God.
reason why it's called that.
Oh yeah.
It's called
Yeah.
it's a visual induction. You're hitting repetition, and I'll use the secretary metaphor here. Every single time some new stimulus comes along, Roz takes a look at the paperwork and it's like, I already know what that is. I already know what that is. I already know what a road looks like. But the second that a deer comes out and jumps out, guess what? She's like, oh, new stimulus, boom. Hey, conscious, do something about this. Subconscious, hurry up and activate every single little bit of adrenaline right then and there. The
Yep.
thing is that up until then, every single little bit of stimulus that you're getting, it's just getting cast aside. It's like, I already know what this, I already know this, I already know this. So guess what happens? She falls into repetition. Now you're in trance.
Which, if you're trying anything, can be a dangerous thing.
Oh, yeah.
Or you end up becoming a hell of a lot more hyper focused than you normally would be. It's like the ultimate, you know, centered thing. Yeah, you get tunnel vision, but the thing is at the same time you're hyper aware of everything around you. There's a difference between going through highway hypnosis and then you've got what's known as falling asleep behind the wheel.
Yeah. Which kills people.
I usually get the latter, unfortunately.
I've actually had similar things with floaters.
Yeah, that
because
happens.
I've been having them since high school, and I've been doing meditation practices for ages. But when I started getting floaters, I had to be hyper aware of my surroundings because I couldn't see a damn thing.
Exactly.
And it got worse when I started driving because with the bright lights and whatnot, they would trigger them sometimes, and it's like you have to be hyper aware for certain things like
Yes.
that. So you're practically in a trance plus with everything else you have to focus on at the same time. And
Exactly.
it's disorienting.
Yeah, and floaters can even end up acting as their own form of induction as well. There's like butterfly induction, you know. You just get to the
So
flow.
the way you're describing everything, it sounds like very similar to watching a very, very, very engaging movie.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, that's another form of, that's an induction in and of itself. You become hyper-focused and you end up losing touch of whatever else it is that's necessarily around you until it makes its presence known. You know, you'll be watching a movie and you might hear off in the distance like your mother calling you. You'll be like, hey, dinner's ready. And you're just be like, I'm watching a movie. You know, completely and totally zombified and tranced out. You know, you watch.
Or you're sitting reading a book and like seeing no an hour.
Exactly, and you know
Yeah.
what? 3 hours, and you're like, what? Where'd the sun go?
Yeah.
You know, if you're in the
like
chat,
when-
give us a thumbs up if you've ever had the experience of where'd half the night go because while reading a book.
Oh, absolutely.
With,
Yeah.
with the highway hypnosis, there you go. You can't remember point A to point B completely. All you know is just that 1 second you got in your car and you turn your ignition, and the next thing you know, you're already home, and you're like, how the heck did this happen?
Yeah. When you're like driving essentially on autopilot.
I remember experience in high school doing a typing class
Right.
and just zoning out,
Yeah.
staring at the keyboard, and then going, "Wait, I haven't done anything for 5 minutes."
Exactly. you zoned out.
Yeah.
Of course, now I'm just remembering one of the times I had to move, and by the end of the driving session, I was going, I am a banana!
And there you go.
Really?
Yes.
Sleep depth plus long, monotonous drives can have fun effects. I know my old mentor in the paranormal used to tell me about coming home from Connecticut at like 3 a.m, and the way he put it was watching trucks melt into Camaros.
Yes, it does. It does happen. I did a 36-hour straight drive from Jersey to Alamogordo, New Mexico.
That's a hike.
All right.
Yeah.
And back. So
Ouch.
basically 72 hours. But on the way back, I didn't bother to sleep at all. All I know is that I was seeing groups of people running beside my car while I'm doing 75, wondering, okay, I have fallen into something here.
You
I
actually
need to pull over, re-get focused. But you want to what? Oh, kicking back to the whole evil villain thing, and this kind of like kicked into my brain, and also the lovely little revenge on the silence bit. Could I talk about the one thing I did that was nightmarishly evil that I did to one of my significant others?
Please do.
Oh.
Oh, now I'm curious.
Hopefully, we're not going to get into anything that's going to get you arrested. But I'm
Oh
curious.
no, nothing like that.
No, you
Like
must
I
trust
would
it.
admit that.
Exactly.
But you want to know what the thing is that this could almost be considered a crime against humanity. I installed Siri in her brain.
You what?
I installed Siri in her brain. And then, whenever she got a little too lippy, I would tell Siri to activate YouTube and play Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up on loop.
Nice.
Yeah,
I got nothing.
That's pretty awesome.
For that, I have to actually do this simply because, you know what? It's something that earned my card. Yes. That was one of the most evil things I did. And I did it to my other girlfriend too, and it was like the most demonic thing imaginable. Yet every single time, whenever she knows to get that glint in my eye, she starts apologizing profusely. And that's it. I haven't done anything yet.
Now I'm just worried somebody's going to start studying hypnosis.
Just to do that. It's the fun stuff, though. That's what I use it for. My recreational hypnosis is meant to screw with people and be evil.
I would actually love to see a YouTube video putting people into a hypnotic state and making them believe that they're being rickrolled.
That's easy enough.
Yeah, I just would like to see somebody do that rather than actually rickrolling somebody. Just make you believe that it
No,
is.
I would say hypnotize them into thinking that they are Rick Astley. That's what I want to see on video. I want to see somebody. I want to see somebody rickroll the entire like audience. you know?
I think one of my first forays into being that demonic, I once tranced 6 people into suddenly thinking that everybody they were seeing was doing the Carlton
Oh, nice.
everywhere.
Oh, jeez. So that kind of stuff actually works. Those sort of post-hypnotic suggestions, all that.
And that's mostly my specialty is throwing in for post-hypnotic suggestions. I'll throw somebody into trance, I'll throw the suggestion in there. I'll make sure that they're deep enough into trance that it takes and that they've consented to it. Always consent. And then once that they've fallen into that and they got it and I bring them back up and I decide to initiate whatever sort of trigger it is, if they decide to annoy me at that particular point, I'll say something like snare drum, and the next thing you know, you suddenly see, everywhere. And they're like, why is everybody dancing? And why am I hearing Tom Jones just singing in the background? What is going on? I love screwing with people's perceptions and their senses. I once made somebody think that every single word they were hearing was mispronounced.
Oh, wow.
And this was a grammar Nazi, so it was like...
Oh, that's
Oh, there's a trick I wish I had.
That's sadistic.
Because I hate
Glorious.
grammar. I don't like to call them grammar Nazis. I call them grammar. Actually, some people call them grammar Nazis. Some people call them grammar police. I personally prefer wannabe English teacher.
Yeah.
Because I
There you
think
go.
calling the police or Nazi gives them more of a pedestal than they deserve.
Usually I just call them Dickens. There you go. The man that managed to create 7 pages of dialogue over taking 1 step down a staircase.
You could also call him Tolkien. How many pages?
No, he would do it. He would do that, but then he'd make sure that he'd put an Elvish script how to describe it, and then fandoms would be created.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want them to get that kind of credit.
20 pages of like orcish drinking songs. You know,
In the
for every
original orc.
That I would do it.
for every moment of like plot moving forward. This is why like I can't read Tolkien. People are like, "Oh, he's so
Well,
great."
it's
No,
3 chapters
can't
on
drink. Can't do it.
what Rivendell looks like in a paragraph on the Battle of Helm's Deep.
Yeah, exactly.
I love Tolkien, but
I actually contemplated throwing a suggestion into somebody's mind that every single time whenever they went to a con, they thought they were at the Battle of Helm's Deep.
oh god,
Wait, what was that? I didn't hear that.
I said that I thought about at my next convention, what I was going to do is trance somebody into thinking that they were actually at the Battle of Helm's Deep. Like, they were stuck in the middle of it. The convention was the battle. And they had no weaponry.
That could go
I'd be
horribly
tempted-
wrong.
It can go wrong.
I'm the Leroy Jenkins. Let's do this.
Yes. To program them to give the "It is not this day" from the Battle of the Black Gate speech at the
Yes.
start of every convention.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I can end up making somebody actually give the speech from Braveheart before they hop in the shower. It's like the most hilarious thing ever.
Okay, real quick, because we've come up on the half hour, I want to give out the number in case anybody out there would like to call in.
Yes, let's
and
get some
ask
callers.
Baron, we'll take a
Yeah.
question. It's 609-807-2492, 609-807-2492.
And I'm fairly sure he can't hypnotize you over the phone. So.
Brian, maybe don't
That is
speak so
entirely
fast.
possible.
I
That's what
can.
guided meditations are,
Yes,
typically.
I can.
But only if you consent. So.
Yes, consent, enthusiastic consent. Yes, please, for the love of all that is good and great. Yes, my goodness. Oh man.
So how long would it take to get somebody into a trance?
That's actually it's an arbitrary statement because the thing is that everybody has those 1 or 2 things that can drop them, but it's finding those. Usually, I try and hit people with what I call the triple threat: a kinesthetic, auditory, and visual inductions, all 3 at once. I see how well that does. If I know that they've been tranced down before, I might ask them, and this is ultimately what I would do is have a negotiation session with them, find out, okay, what are you most susceptible to? Okay, that'll help me. Because if I know what it is that'll drop you down, it makes my job easier and it'll make it a lot more enjoyable for you, because nothing is more frustrating for somebody wanting to be hypnotized to not be. You know, because you didn't find the right, what we call their modalities. Like, you got some people that are very visual, so what I'll do is I'll give them something to focus on in particular and have them consistently focus on it and have their eyes begin to actually relax. If it's something that they're auditory, I will purposely use my hypnotic voice to get them to calm and relax, and I want them to consistently hear the tone of my voice. Or if there's something that's kinesthetic, I might actually just tell them I'm going to hold you up on your shoulder here, and I'm just going to gently rock you and gently rock you and get you into you nice and relaxed. Let the muscles relax and just consistently press that down. And if I can hit somebody with all 3, one of those will usually take. And when I realize which one is taking the most, I'll start to fade off the other 2. And then just on that one in particular, and then boom, there it is. It could take anywhere from 2 minutes to 10. Really, and that's with somebody that has been tranced. I've seen somebody spend 20 minutes trying to get somebody to drop down, but once they were down, they were down.
I always remember a story, because I've read a little on hypnosis, partly the magician thing. Some of the techniques of neurolinguistic programming and suggestion be useful to learn to be a little bit better of a magician. But when I was a kid, I remember reading this one book talking about a stage hypnotist having a guy come up on stage, sit down, and go into a trance.
It can happen. It is. And I guarantee you what that stage hypnotist was doing was he was talking to the audience. He was trying to see who was being the most receptive. Usually what a stage hypnotist will do is he'll do a massive audience-wide induction. And he'll be like, okay, everybody hold your arms out like this. All right, I want you to picture that you're holding bricks in your right hand and feathers in your left. And I want you to picture one more brick that's actually being put into that bucket and maybe an extra feather being put into the other one that's going to make that bucket even lighter. And you'll start to see people start to have one arm raise up and the other one drop down. Guarantee you he was watching to see whose arm was going up the fastest and dropping the fastest. Because he's like, okay, that's a person I can drop quick. And then the second he did that and he pulled him down, he realized, okay, you're a visual or kinesthetic. He immediately hit him with a pattern interrupt. Like, and that's another form of induction where you basically, the brain is expecting one thing, you hit them with something completely and totally different that breaks routine, and it causes the brain to short circuit for just a second. It lets you rush past Roz and immediately go into the subconscious office and slam the door.
From what I remember from reading, there was obviously, I mean, I know about hypnotism. I've been to hypnotist shows, so the induction part. But it was also, he thought it was kind of just the guy was so prepped just because he was in the audience. He wanted to be hypnotized. Yes. He hit that chair. He's ready to go. Boom, he's down.
There it is. The enthusiasm in and of itself is also a very powerful inducer as well, you know, because you want to go down. And here's something, this is kind of like a little out there to like kind of accept. But when a person goes down, in their mind, they're thinking, I'm hoping that this is going right. I'm hoping I'm doing well. So reassurances help as well. Am I doing this right? Am I in trance right? Am I relaxed enough? I don't want to upset him, and I'm in front of people, so I really don't want to upset him. Usually that is what ends up going through, so it's up to the hypnotist to reassure the subject that, hey, by the way, you're doing fine, you're doing relaxed, it's perfectly okay, you know? And that drops the person down quick.
I remember from my own one experience of being hypnotized by a stage hypnotist, it's like, yeah, there was kind of the, wait, is this working? How would I know? I've never actually been hypnotized before. Well, it's sort of like, you know, when I've done the it's like,
yeah, and it's just like meditation. That's all it is. You're closing. It's like when you, I don't know if anybody else has done this because I've actually started to realize I was throwing myself into trance before I actually got into hypnotism. I would be in the dentist chair, and I'd sit back and relax. And I used to have a lot of dental work done. Like we're talking every single week for almost like 3 years. So I'd get to a point where I'd sit back in the chair and I'd tell them, give me a bite block because my jaw is going to close because I'm not going to keep it open because I'm just going to be so relaxed and out of it. I'm not going to know to do it. And what would happen? I'd drop myself into trance. I wouldn't feel the drill at all. I wouldn't hear any of that. All I'd be is just...
I remember trying to give blood, and I've got issues, like many people, issues with needles, and just laying back and, you know, getting in the nice trance zone. Really? And then they drag me out of it. It's like, oh, you bastards.
Really? You have a problem with needles?
Oh, crap.
You're in trouble, Kevin.
It's funny. I just got done teaching a recent string of classes, and it was originally what I was going to teach for the last convention. I actually did not attend. It was called The Stuff of Nightmares, and it was taking a person's fear and handing it to Freddy Krueger while he's on a sugar high.
Oh.
Okay, and telling him to have fun with it. And with the way that I taught that class was, one, I indicated that, and it was a hypnosis class, it was that, first off, it's not for pickup play. You can't do it with a complete stranger. You do it with a complete stranger, you're a moron. Okay, you're an evil moron and a not good evil. Like, you deserve to be thrown into a hole and buried. This is something meant to be done with two people that have actually established a very strong mental rapport and trust. Because guess what? You do this, you're going to screw up. It's a guarantee. It is something that you can't do and expect everything to go right. And the problem with something like this is that when something does screw up, it doesn't screw up small. It screws up big. You know, it's messing with a nuclear reactor that sits on a person's neck. If you don't know what you're doing and you don't have that form of trust, it can really go south bad. So
sounds like, I mean,
oh yeah. But with the class, it was like a room of, I think, like maybe 30 or 40 people. I taught this down in Maryland fairly recently, and I pointed to each and every individual person in that classroom, and I told them, give me something you think would be somebody be terrified of. They tell me, and then I tell them how to escalate it predictively through the hypnosis. Like somebody said, bugs. I'm like, okay. You've got creepy, crawly sensations. You got feelings of like a little bit of uncertainty. Where's the bug? And then what you do is you drop somebody into the room, and what you do is you tell them that there is a bug in that room, and it knows that you're in there with it. And now the thing is that you just caught it out the corner of your eye. You could have sworn that you saw it, but the thing is that now it's moving even faster. And every single time you think you see it, you just catch sight of it moving. Now there's 2 of them. Now there's 5 of them. And you just felt something brush against your leg. You see what I mean? It's like that slow build.
And welcome to the wonderful world of the project I've been working on for a while with another hypnotist friend of mine, of trying to do a Victorian-style seance, combining my skill as a magician and her skill as a hypnotist.
I'm curious, which hypnotist is this?
I don't, do you know Shannon Tobin? She's from Massachusetts. She does a number of Jeff events.
Chances are I'm probably going to be seeing her at the upcoming event up in Massachusetts called NIHU.
Don't know anything about it.
New England Erotic Hypno
Probably not.
Unconference.
She's Shannon's more of a therapeutic hypnotist, so she doesn't go in for the erotic.
Well, I mean, the thing is that it's not so much on the erotic side per se whenever it comes to hypnosis. Because here's my view when it comes to hypnosis. It's a spice. It's not a kink. You can use it to enhance anything. And me, I purposely would use it. Okay, you can use this in fun, sexy times, or you could use this just for fun, evil, twisted, sadistic times. Or you could just do it for fun times. You know, but then again, my idea of fun is pretty twisted, sick, and sadistic. So
Well, I think
they kind of run parallel.
Considering the last thing that you like, we're talking about with the bugs and stuff, I'm sitting there going, okay, who else is getting flashbacks from the last portion of Creep Show?
Yes, that's a good one.
Oh man.
Yes.
See, I would. My question is like, why? Like,
Why?
Why would you do that?
Well, why would I want to do this to somebody, or why would somebody want this?
Why would anybody consent to doing this?
Well, I can
like,
tell you.
Because I know I have things.
I can think of several.
Yeah,
Yeah.
For
I
one
know
thing,
I have
I
things
can
that
think
scare
of
me.
why do anybody watch horribly terrifying horror movies?
Well,
I don't.
why does anybody ever think of jumping out of a perfectly good airplane?
Okay, Brian, you don't, but a lot of people love horror movies. They love roller coasters. They love skydiving. A lot of people love the adrenaline.
Hunting the paranormal.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and we want to talk suggestion. And the uphill war when I'm trying to train a new victim, because some people want to learn how to. There's no
You're
better
using
word.
my language now.
For a new paranormal investigator, there is no better word than a new victim. And usually, you know what? Lo and behold, secrets of the trade. I use lots of elements of suggestion, and because when I want to see if an investigator can cut it, the first thing I do is I don't take them into somebody's house. I take them to a cemetery, and I'll leave them alone. Because even if the cemetery isn't haunted, their minds are going to screw with them.
Exactly. Their perceptions are going to be hyper enhanced merely by the sensory deprivation of itself, okay, and the uncertainty of the area itself too. Because I guarantee you, you're not telling them what cemetery you're taking them to, are you? Okay, there you go. Of course, boom, insta win. I like your style. That's exactly what I would do. Or what's worse is I'd make people think that every single chair in this room is a gravestone.
Well, see, you can do it without going to the cemetery. I'd do it in the actual cemetery.
Or I could just make this whole room haunted.
I don't doubt it.
And turn every single item in here into an SCP. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, I love the SCPs.
I love the SCP. It is the awesome. I've got like so many apps for it. It's ridiculous.
You like creepypastas as well?
Of course I do.
We'll have to introduce you to our friend Lupus Creepus sometime.
I'm curious what your favorite is.
What my favorite SCP?
No, your favorite
either.
creepypasta, but that too.
Well, my favorite SCP was Staircase. I forget the actual number.
The one with the
voice of the child
laughing.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that if it's not my favorite SCP, it's within the top 5.
That and 073, the Plague Doctor.
Also a really good one.
Is me.
I like the one that's God, basically.
Oh, what? That's 001, isn't it?
No, it's the one I'm thinking of is a different one. But it's an old man who claims to be God, and for all intents and purposes appears to be God, who, for reasons unknown, seems to cooperate with the SCP Foundation.
Of course not, because he already knows what's going to happen if he does or doesn't.
But he won't give them certain things, like the unkillable lizard creature. It's like,
How
do you kill it?
684.
Yeah.
Well,
I
thing is,
you know
if you're not
I
meant to
didn't
know,
create
you're
it.
not
It's
gonna
an
know.
abomination.
Exactly.
And but no, we have a friend who was originally, before Brian offered the host chair, but unfortunately he's 3 time zones away, so it's a little hard to coordinate.
Understood.
Named Lupus Creepus. So you know what ritual pastas are?
I can derive an idea as to what they are, but please do tell me.
Like Devil Game, Bloody Mary.
Oh, the
So-
urban legend stuff.
So Lupus has a channel called Will It Kill Me? He likes to take those and do them on air. Like, I just think the two of you would have an interest.
And apparently, so far, not dead.
Yeah.
Nothing's even happened, actually.
Well, that's a good thing. You know, I mean, my own brushes with the paranormal in and of itself kind of make me a leery on it, but okay.
Well, the reality is the majority of those rituals were made up by some bored
Of
16-year-old.
course. Of course.
And there's some that I don't even know if it's even possible to do nowadays, like Channel Infinity.
Yeah, because it requires a TV with actual static.
Yeah.
You can get that.
Yeah.
They actually have static channels now.
It's harder, but yeah. Well, fun unrelated fact: 1% of the if you're looking at a static TV, 1% of the static you see is from the Big Bang.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It is. It is. You know, it's the residual noise from
Yeah.
the explosion in and of itself, and you're just like, okay, I like this. This is cool. Big explodey. Michael Bay ain't got nothing on this. It's billions of years later. We're still seeing the after effects. Beat that, Mickey boy.
Now I'm just reminded of Kevin was playing a Deadpool game last night, and he finished it, and the ending involved oh, Deadpool, we're not that much over budget. Well, get on your checkbook. Explosion, 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 explosion.
Yes.
Deadpool, you're getting us over budget. Why?
Great
Because he's
game that
Deadpool.
just, as is proper for Deadpool anything, just ignores the fourth wall.
What's a fourth wall?
There's a point where you have to get over this vat of acid, and the voices in his head, which have multiple thought bubbles going, just go, wait, do that again. Do what? That. Huh? Oh, I see. Then you just jump across the thought
Yeah.
bubbles.
There it is.
Nice. Did you see they have this newest trailer for Deadpool 2?
Oh, yes, the
Yes.
one with Cable, and all of a sudden you
I
see the
haven't-
action
Cable, all the
figures.
I
action
haven't seen the
figures is
trailer. I've
hilarious.
only seen the poster saying that it's going to be out soon.
No, it's great. It starts off, it's all dark and gloomy and Cable. Then all of a sudden it cuts to Deadpool and Deadpool playing with like the Cable and Deadpool
no,
action
first he's-
figures. I'm Cable and I'm all tough and
Actually, first he's
Howdy.
complaining about the special effects.
Yeah, they're like,
Yeah.
oh, come on. He had
So
a metal
basically,
arm.
it's going
Yeah.
into Rob Liefeld to Linkara.
Yes.
oh, it was
Yeah.
a really
Gotta
good
love it.
trailer.
Well, I mean, speaking of interesting little trailers and commercials, Dinklage and Morgan Freeman, Dorito and Mountain Dew commercial that happened last Sunday.
Oh, I did not. I will have to look that
Wait,
up.
Dinklage and Morgan Freeman?
Yes, Dinklage and Morgan Freeman.
Because that's an awesome
I
combo.
know, that's like
I need to
unstoppable
look at
force
this.
meets an
Would've been better.
immovable object. It's like, yes.
Now I'm just trying
Beautiful
to remember who was the guy who played Judge Claude Frollo in Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame. Because I remember somebody describing a terrible, terrible Disney cartoon as, okay, everything else is terrible, but Tim Curry and him as the two villains in the same
Immediately
room
won.
having conversation.
Yes, that's like the insta win right there.
Yeah.
Oh wait, was it Derek Jacobi that?
I don't remember.
Was
Wait,
the-
I have a
'cause he has
computer in
great-
front of me. Why don't I
Yes.
just look this
There
up?
you go.
You could look this
Yeah.
up.
Well,
You're so
He
smart.
described it as okay, who can make women's panties wet more?
do you have a moment? Hypnosis! Some of the fun things I can do. Yes. That doesn't take much, just a snap of the finger. And I'm one of those few
Okay.
people that can actually say that.
Tony J.
Okay,
Oh
Tony J.
God,
Tony J.
God rest him. I know exactly who you're talking about too.
Okay.
He was you familiar with Legacy of Kain?
Yes.
He's the elder god.
Wait.
Oh, yes, I remember now.
He is.
Oh my God.
That's Tony J.
Yeah, no, I remember watching the behind the scenes, and I'm sitting there going, his voice is familiar. His voice, I'm like seeing the face, but really, he's Frollo?
Yeah.
That's right. I'm thinking of Derek Jacobi because he was in a live action version of Hunchback of Notre Dame playing that character.
There you go. Yeah, Tony J was like the original movie trailer guy's rival in so many
Yeah.
regards.
Now I'm just remembering it, how annoyed I was when my friend looked up the Broadway show of Hunchback of Notre Dame, and it's like, not only are you taking the music Disney did, but you're not even... not only not even doing the same story they did, you're not even doing the same story as in the book.
Exactly.
So you say Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I still think of the original with Lon Chaney Sr.
Yeah.
Those were amazing stunts.
Because it was the original, monsieur.
Oh, I actually want to do a small follow-up as far as Legacy of Kain, because that's one of my favorite
Oh
video game
God,
series.
they
is
so
a-
have to
I
bring
was
it
watching the
back.
behind the scenes,
Yes.
and it's like, Jean Monnet, who is Odo from Deep Space Nine,
Yeah.
and what's his name from Grumpy Old Men, playing Raziel, and I'm like, and then it's like the only person I don't recognize in this entire scene is the guy who plays Kane.
Which
'cause
one
they-
from Grumpy Old Men?
Yeah, because there was Burgess Meredith, there was Jack Lemmon, and
Walter
Matthau.
Matthau.
It wasn't Matthau. It was his buddy.
Jack
Lemon.
Lemmon.
Jack Lemmon.
Yeah, it was Lemon.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It
That's
was Lemon.
Jack Lemmon.
It was
I did not
hilarious because
think,
they're showing
Jack
the
Lemmon did,
bloopers, and
like
he's reading
video
off the script,
games.
and he's like, "You need to make that softer." So he adjusts his glasses, which have like the ladiest sort of like anchors on them, and he goes, "Well, now that," and he starts, and he just like does the most pretentious English lady voice
Yeah.
for Razzie. I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God, this is hilarious."
Jack Lemmon was an awesome guy.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
So we're getting near the end of the show. I want to touch on, as fascinating as the whole conversation is, on the
Please.
paranormal a bit. So what do you think of the connections between hypnosis and trance states?
The connection, they go hand in hand, really.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
But like, well, what would you think like rituals and like
Well, that's
church
a good
sermons,
place to
things like
start.
that? Like, do they put you into the same sort of?
I think it's more in the LLP lane more than anything else, because in and of itself, you're being pushed into a fervor
Yeah.
that you're not necessarily agreeing to per se. You're doing it hopefully to reach a particular goal, but the problem is that it's being done in a way that possibly is being sort of like utilized not as hypnosis. It's almost like, I'm not hypnotizing you. It's just
But
the word of God.
Yeah, and again, the states are very similar. They've noticed nuns deep in prayer
Oh, yes.
is the same mental state. I'm also thinking more particularly of historically, of course, when we want to talk the history of hypnosis, we have to talk about Mesmer.
Of course. The fuzzer.
Who was played by Alan Rickman in the movie?
Of course he was.
And something is, he had, as I'm sure you know, and our listeners may not, he had a whole bunch of odd beliefs.
Of course he did. Mesmer in of itself actually thought that there was something called animal magnetism, and that's how he found hypnosis, which just made me go like, really, dude?
Especially because it's like animal magnetism was proven to be not a thing by
Exactly.
Benjamin Franklin, among others.
Yeah, and it was,
But hypnosis is a thing.
go figure. It's like, I touched upon something by accident, and crap. Okay, now what do I do with it?
Although it does touch on something I've seen before, and I tend to stand by. Skeptics tend to think there's no point in studying the paranormal. There's no evidence. But setting aside the argument about whether or not there's evidence, we occasionally find useful things while
Exactly.
pursuing these dead ends. Case in point, he came up with hypnosis looking for something we know isn't a thing.
Well, I mean, the thing
Yeah.
is that I've always held a very strong belief as to what actual paranormal incidences, entities, and what have you actually are. I mean, we'll take, for instance, corporeal entities, okay? Spirits in and of themselves, human spirits, okay? All it is basically highly powerful electrical patterns that chose to actually manifest themselves and draw energy from whatever it could in order to be able to manifest.
Yes, I would
It
agree with
doesn't
that.
go away. It's there. Now, whether or not it could actually interact with its environment is completely and totally subjective, and whether or not it actually is measurable. A lot of the problem that skeptics have is that if it's not quantifiable, then it doesn't exist. Well, there are some things that we were not able to quantify hundreds of years ago that now we can. So
There's things that we haven't
it
been able
time.
to, we only just managed to pin down and discover dark matter.
exactly.
Yeah, this is why my favorite Shakespeare quote is my favorite Shakespeare quote. There is more to heaven and earth than is dreamt of in your philosophy.
That's a good quote.
It's
and
a great
and
quote.
now that you're talking about Shakespeare, I'm thinking about my favorite monologue.
Which one's this?
Iago. Iago's I hate the more.
Oh god, that's a good one.
Yes. There's actual YouTube video of me delivering that one too, I believe. I think. But then again, I also had the curled mustache and the curled beard too. Because of who I play at, where I actually did the piece, I'm with the New York Renaissance Fair as well. I'm one of their actors. And the court, the royal court at the Ren Fair is actual historical figures. And the person that I portray makes mustachioed man look like Mr. Rogers.
Oh,
Okay, we're talking about a guy that when he was put into prison briefly for a year, when he got out, he walled off the city, had all of his soldiers kill all the women and children within the city, lined up all of the men along one street, and personally slit every single one of their throats
Dang.
to start. And this is a guy that Elizabeth loved,
Which one?
Monsieur de Castagnan. His grandfather was Master Horse to Louis XII, and his grandson, Castagnon's grandson, became a saint. This guy was the reason. This guy was the reason why there is a red wedding. If we're gonna go Game of Thrones, Catherine de Medici's kid was gonna be getting married to somebody out in Spain.
Oh,
She didn't
yeah.
like it very much, so guess what? She contacted one of her most ruthless people, me, and basically said, I want this to be a memorable night, and I wanted to make sure that this doesn't happen. So guess what?
That whole family.
Exactly.
dead.
And well, the thing is that in this particular case, we're talking close to about 5,000 Huguenots in Paris, as well as another 15,000 spread out through 5 cities in France.
Yeah, people,
All orchestrated
people
by me.
forget the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre
Yes.
was a
Amish and I
Hell
go
of
up
an
to
event.
New York
Yes.
Ren Fair from time to time. We'll have to say hello next time.
Mais oui, you shall see me.
We were there last week.
I got to look up this guy because he sounds like he should be in my world.
Good luck,
Yeah.
because the kick is that almost every single little bit of information on him outside of Wikipedia is all in French and written by him. And
That's
it's because he
fascinating.
torched every single little bit of historical text during
Gee,
his
that
time.
sounds like a build-up for a vampire.
And just
Exactly.
wrote it
That
of
sounds
himself.
that sounds exactly like somebody who should be
but
like
now
in
I'm
my,
just really
council.
curious as to what he said about himself.
Well, here's the kick, okay? What he said about himself was everything that we quote unquote know, but then a lot of his detractors actually said that, yeah, he watered down a lot of it, and what he wrote already was pretty atrocious as is.
So it's like the one guy from Schindler's List, how he was actually much more serious in real life than he was
Yeah,
in the
the-
movie.
the commandant of the concentration camp. There's so much they left out of the movie just because they didn't think people would believe he was that much of a supervillain.
Exactly, and that's just it. It's like even his biggest enemies were like, yeah, he kind of watered it down a little bit. And what we already know of him is vile, is unbelievable. But he did have one good thing about him. One good thing. He would never lie to Queen Elizabeth. Ever. Even to the point where when Robert Dudley, Queen Elizabeth's lovely little love interest, got married to Lettice Knowles, and I call her Lettice, not Lettice. I call her Lettice. Okay? And her entire court kept it from her. Guess who told her? The only person with enough gumption and had the brass gone is to actually say to her, yeah, by the way, you know that guy that you've been drooling over almost your entire life? Guess what? He went and got married behind your back. Whether you like to hear it or not.
I'm sure he was looking forward to the fallout from that.
Oh,
Likely, at least one reason Elizabeth liked him. It's like somebody's
she
actually
kept
going to
him
tell
at
you the
court
truth.
until his death. She loved him. Plus the fact that he used to have a crush on her mother, because he actually knew her mother when he was little, and her mother was a teenager, still at French court. Maybe. So basically, for about 3 or 4 months out of the year, I'm speaking in a French accent. Well, you can imagine how difficult it is to actually switch back to a deep Chelsea. It's mon Dieu.
Do you ever taunt people
Constantly. As a
the
matter of
English and sit up on the thing and go, "Hello, English pig
Well,
dogs."
here's the problem. Here's the problem here, to put it into a very mild state. If you think about it, it is like I'm working in a shop and my ex just walked in with her new boyfriend and I have to smile and serve.
Oh,
Because I am in England and I'm surrounded by all people that I'm like, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you, I'm gonna kill you, you're okay, I'll kill you. Are you a Catholic? No. I'm going to kill you first. You know, he was the head of the Inquisition. The Spanish Inquisition was like, you know, small potatoes compared to the French one.
well, yeah, French in particular are famous for werewolf killings.
Yeah, well, you know, we started it and we might as well continue it. And got good at it. You know, they say is that the French may not have invented kissing, but we perfected it.
We definitely, at some point in the near future, need to do an episode on the Inquisition.
Of course.
Yeah. Well,
Which one?
You
What
talk,
do you say?
As a general group, as well as, because just some of the fascinating things of, like, for example,
Kevin loves to slip in anecdotes about the Inquisition.
By all means.
I bet you know this. I bet a lot of our listeners don't. Everybody expected the Spanish Inquisition
Yes.
because they actually sent you a letter a month in advance before you were called in front of them.
Of course, they were basically like the IRS. We are going to repossess your house. Just letting you know.
Well,
You
it's-
have 1 month to hide your crap.
Yeah, you're going to be audited. Have fun.
Yeah. Wait, can I take the Inquisition instead of being audited?
Exactly.
no, the government's not that nice.
Actually, you want to what? There you go. That's my next evil bit. I'm going to actually trance somebody into thinking they're being audited.
Oh,
That's like,
That's,
okay,
that's
we've got...
inhuman.
Okay, the devil is looking at you and going, dude, really?
Are you kidding? He approves.
Actually, he's like, how? Help. No. goodness.
See, yeah,
We're
we're
almost
unfortunately running out of
time.
time.
We'll have
Which
to
is a
come
pity
back.
because this has been a blast.
Well,
Yes.
definitely. And you want to know what? If you guys ever want me again, I'll
Yes,
be more
you're
than
welcome
happy
back.
to come on right
Oh,
back
yeah.
down.
We'll be at plenty of events too in the future if you want to come in and jump on.
And you know what the thing is that if you guys have any interest further into hypnosis, by all means, come up to Nihu. It's in Bristol, Massachusetts, and it's in March. I believe it's the first weekend in March. I'm actually a volunteer coordinator for it, and we could always use more and more people to come down. Great
I am
thing.
like I said, I am interested in hypnosis, not so much learning how to do it as learning aspects of it to be useful for magic and
No, it's not so much just we're focused on kink. It's an unconference. So if you want to learn something about it, you got like the best hypno minds in the entire Eastern
the tricky
Seaboard
part for me
there.
is Massachusetts time off work. Maybe.
Either way, you know, come on down.
yeah.
I'll be teaching
Potentially,
a
you
class.
could just get a bus ticket in and make it real cheap.
Exactly. You know, you don't even got.
Though I don't know how you go from Boston to Bristol. I don't know where Bristol is.
Bristol's like maybe 10, 20, I don't know, minutes away.
All right, so there's probably like a train or a bus that goes
Or at the
there.
worst, if it's 10 minutes away, I can just take an Uber.
Yeah, you know, it's not that bad. It's a pretty cool con. I
We'll
mean,
talk
it's
about it
been
and see
going
what we
on
can
for a
work
couple
out. I'm interested.
Yes.
Tell the viewers anyway.
Yeah,
and listeners.
please promote the con.
It'll be held first weekend of March. Is called the New England Erotic Hypno Unconference. You can contact me on Facebook. I'm Baron Voltage. You'll be able to see a very dapper-looking individual, looking like he's dressed up as steampunk. If not, just contact me on my email at baronvvoltage@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to kind of direct you and tell you a little bit more about the event and get you guys in.
Does it have a website?
I believe it does this time around. It might be nihu.org. I gotta take another look at it.
Yeah,
because
it's nihu.org.
there you go, and there it is. You can learn all about it, and if it's your bag, by all means, come on up. I'll be happy to say hi.
Technically, it looks like it's the second weekend of March.
Well,
It's
second
March
weekend of March.
8th to 12th.
Thank you. You see, my temporal visual is always screwed up.
That's why we always have internet things open during the show because this comes up.
yes.
It helps.
Yes, I just happened to have it because I was like, oh, maybe this would be a great place for Brian to sell his books.
Oh yeah, and you want to know
Please
what the
meet
thing
me
is?
in
Is
the
they would love to do some vampire hypno stuff there as well. You know.
See, I'm just sitting here. It's like is there some sort of lecture I could give?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, lectures right now are closed for submission. But the thing is that you could always submit something for the next one.
True, but we should be wrapping up at this point. Baron Voltage, I want to thank you for coming on. You've been a fantastic guest, folks.
Yes.
Remember to check him out on Facebook. But that's it for tonight. This is Kevin Mears, Demonologist, saying good night and God bless.
Bye-bye.
Take
Brian.
it easy.
Bye.
Avoid lightning rods.
Yes.
Also good advice.